and simple murder. With that single declaration, the narrative of a tragic drowning was wiped away, replaced by the chilling certainty that someone had wanted Zubeen Garg dead.
This is a murder. It is a murder.
Assam Chief Minister Hemanta Biswa Sarma has publicly stated in the State Assembly that Zubeen Garg's death was a plain and simple murder, not an accident or even culpable homicide. I'm Anjilee Istawal, and today on Post-Mortem, we uncover every single layer of the investigation of the death of Assam's cultural icon. First, let's travel back in time to the day the nation heard the tragic news.
We bring to you some tragic breaking news that's just coming in. Legendary Assamese singer Zubeen Garg has passed away after an accident in Singapore.
What begins as a leisurely outing in Singapore's southern waters, a yacht trip to the turquoise edges of Lazarus Island, quickly becomes the most devastating day in modern Assamese cultural memory. On board that yacht is a familiar entourage: Zubeen Garg, his manager, personal security officers, bandmates, more than a dozen people who have traveled with him, laughed with him, worked beside him. In fact, they are his most trusted brothers-in-arms. But it is some of these trusted men that today stand accused of his murder. Two days earlier, on September 17th, Zubeen Garg had landed in Singapore to headline the 4th Northeast India Festival, set to begin the next day. Everything about the trip had been routine, but routine has a way of collapsing without warning. As the yacht drops anchor near Lazarus Island, Zubeen steps forward towards the water. Early clips circulating online show him wearing a life jacket, a picture of casual caution. But later accounts insist he either removed it or jumped in without one. Moments after entering the sea, something goes wrong. Witnesses describe a medical crisis, a seizure, or a sudden failure to breathe. Panic spreads across the yacht. People dive in, arms reach for him. When they finally haul him back onto the deck, Zubeen is unconscious. And even worse, unresponsive. CPR begins immediately. The race to save his life has already begun. He is rushed to Singapore General Hospital, where the doctors pronounce him dead at 2:30 p.m. India Standard Time. A drowning, they say. A tragic accident. At least that's how the story begins. To understand the shock that followed, you have to understand who Zubeen Garg was. Not just as a musician, but as a symbol. Born in 1972, Zubeen carved a path that almost defied categorization. A multilingual singer-composer who recorded tens of thousands of songs across Assamese, Hindi, Bengali, Nepali, and more. A crossover figure who stepped from Assamese stage to Bollywood studio, leaving hits behind in both worlds. More than a performer, he was uniquely a cultural bridge. To the young, he was the soundtrack of festivals, protests, heartbreaks. To older generations, he was the ambassador of an Assamese identity that felt both modern and rooted. To communities divided by ethnicity or politics, he was the rare artist everyone claimed as their own. Zubeen wasn't just popular, he was personal. And so, when news broke of his death in Singapore, it wasn't merely the loss of a singer, it was the loss of a constant. So who would want to murder a man loved by millions? According to the Assam Chief Minister, one man murdered him and the rest helped. His statement has shifted the investigation from tragedy to conspiracy. Standing before the Assembly, the Chief Minister dropped a revelation that stunned even seasoned observers. According to him, the story behind Zubeen Garg's death didn't begin in Singapore and not even in 2025. It began years earlier. He claimed a big story had been unfolding around the cultural icon since before the COVID-19 pandemic. A story tied not to the music, not to travel, but to money. Financial entanglements, deals gone wrong, threads that he suggested led directly to Zubeen's final hours. And then he made his boldest assertion yet.
SIT will submit search sheet on time. Already they have made substantial progress, and as I told you, that Assam police will unearth a larger picture. And whatever brief I have got so far, the SIT is absolutely confident, and they said that they will be able to give total justice to Zubeen Garg.
7 people were arrested in connection with Zubeen Das' death. They are Northeast India Festival organizer Shyamganu Mahanta, Garg's manager Siddharth Sharma, DSP cousin Sandeepan Garg, personal security officers Nandeshwar Bora and Pravin Besha, bandmate Shekhar Jyoti Goswami, and singer Amrit Prabha Mahanta. The question everyone will be asking is, who out of them is the murderer, if it is a murder? Assam was gripped with grief and rumors. It was ready to erupt and boil over. The anger eventually led to a second autopsy. What all happened? Here's the story.
Sorry.
What followed Zubeen Garg's death was unlike anything Assam had witnessed in a generation. A wave of grief, massive, unprompted, and deeply personal. It swept across the state and then across India. The Assam government declared 3 days of state mourning, later extended. A whole state came to a grinding halt, overcome by grief. Leaders at the highest levels, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sarma, issued tributes acknowledging not just an artist, but a cultural force. And then came the honors. Zubeen was cremated with full state rights, a 21-gun salute echoing over Kamarkuchi, Assam police carrying his coffin in a gesture rarely reserved for civilians. But the real tribute came from the people. Lakhs of mourners poured into Guwahati. The stadium stayed open throughout the night as fans, young, old, entire families, filed past his body in silence, in song and in tears. Some held the gamusas inked with his lyrics. Others lit lamps or whispered prayers. Many sang Mayabini until their voices cracked. Across Assam, shops shut on their own. Food delivery apps paused their services. The state seemed to stop breathing for a moment. When Zubeen Das' coffin made its final 25-kilometer journey from the airport, tens of thousands lined the road, showering petals as it passed. It was more than mourning. It was a people losing their voice and trying together to sing him home. What hurt the people even more was that from the very beginning, the story of Zubeen Garg's death split into 2 versions, 2 truths that refuse to overlap. And the gaps between them are where the mystery lies. First mystery, the cause of death. Singapore's police force was clear from the day one. No foul play suspected, a drowning supported by their initial autopsy. But thousands of kilometers away, Assam refused to accept it. And now the SIT investigation has reached a very different conclusion. The SIT is preparing to file charge sheet with murder charges. Not even culpable homicide. 2 governments, 2 investigations, 2 causes of death. While all this was being debated, Zubeen Das' bandmate, Shekhar Jyoti Goswami shocked everyone with a new twist. He claimed Zubeen had been poisoned by his own manager and an event organizer. The allegation ignited public suspicion and was powerful enough to spread on its own. But science told a different story. Both autopsies, Singapore and Guwahati, found no toxins, no poison, nothing foreign. The drowning was real. So if this was murder, it wasn't through poison. It had to be something else. Early footage shows Zubeen in a life jacket, careful, relaxed. Reports claimed he later removed it. Was it a simple swim gone wrong? Or as later floated as a theory, possibly a cardiac episode or a seizure? But the Assam SIT painted a darker picture. They suggested Zubeen may have been incapacitated, possibly after being given alcohol. And eyewitnesses' accounts claimed something even more troubling, that his manager, standing just a few feet away, blocked attempts to save him when he began to struggle. This raised eyebrows. People asked, was this negligence or intent? Now here's the revelation that turned a mystery into a possible crime. In the weeks after the incident, investigators uncovered over 1.1 crore in suspicious transfers flowing into the accounts of Zubeen Das' personal security officers or PSOs, funds tied to the very people organizing the event. Financial dealings, hidden payments, a motive that never appeared in the early reports, but now sits at the center of the case. While the investigations continued, what began as a tidal wave of grief, more than 1 million people flooding the streets for Zubeen Garg's final journey, did not stay grief for long. It hardened, it sharpened, it turned into anger. Because while the world mourned, the first official word from Singapore was just one line: death by drowning. And for many, that explanation was simply impossible to accept. Online suspicion spread faster than facts. The hashtag Justice for Zubeen Garg exploded. Millions of posts demanding answers, demanding accountability. Rumors took on a life of their own. Alleged poisoning, leaked alleged post-mortem reports, conspiracy threads shared thousands of times. Most of it unverified, sometimes entirely fake, all of it feeding the same belief that the truth was being withheld. Fans pointed to the simplest question: how does an experienced swimmer drown while everyone else on the yacht walks away unharmed? Under relentless pressure, the Assam government was pushed into extraordinary action. A second autopsy was ordered by the Chief Minister, conducted only hours before the cremation. A special investigation team, or the SIT, was formed under the CID, responding to the flood of FIRs that were filed by ordinary citizens. A judicial commission led by a sitting High Court judge was tasked with probing every detail of Zubeen's final hours. These weren't routine steps. They were emergency measures meant to calm a state that refused to be calmed. And then came the breaking point. When 5 accused were being transferred to a jail in Buxa district, mobs erupted, pelting stones, torching police vehicles, turning raw grief into violent upheaval. What had begun as mourning was now a full-blown political crisis. Zubeen Garg's death didn't just shake Assam's cultural soul, it fractured its calm. By late September 2025, the investigation into Zubeen Garg's death took a sharp and shocking turn. Assam Police's Special Investigation Team, or the SIT, didn't just question people, they raided them. And what they found changed everything. Coordinated teams swept across Guwahati. Homes, offices, even hotel linked to the men who had been closest to Zubeen during his final days, the event organizer, the manager, and a bandmate who was on the yacht in Singapore. The searches weren't routine. They were deep, methodical, and led by officers who already suspected the truth was buried under paperwork and hard drives. At the residence of Shyamkanu Mahanta, the chief event organizer, the operation stretched into a second day, and the haul was staggering. 7 hard disks, 2 laptops, a computer CPU, multiple pen drives, stacks of incriminating files, and most unsettling, nearly 30 official stamp seals tied to companies and government offices. Investigators also uncovered multiple PAN cards for his company, each with different numbers. A red flag for financial fraud, a siren for money laundering. The findings were so serious, the SIT immediately pulled in the Enforcement Directorate or the ED and the Income Tax Department. This was no longer only a homicide investigation. It had become a financial crime case with national agencies diving deep into it. Next, the SIT arrived at the locked apartment of Siddharth Sharma, Zubeen's manager. No one answered. No one had been seen there since the singer's death. In the presence of a magistrate, officers broke the lock. Inside, they recovered more documents, a laptop, and much more questions. Parallel raid hit Jalukbari, the home of Shekhar Jyoti Goswami, the sound recordist on the Singapore yacht trip. Again, a haul of pen drives, hard disks, a CPU, and documents. Digital footprints that might reveal what really happened at sea and what was planned on land. News of the raids ignited the public. Crowds gathered outside Sharma's residence, demanding arrests. Tensions escalated. Police and protesters clashed in the streets. And behind the scenes, investigators sifted through mountains of evidence, data that would soon form the backbone of what the Chief Minister promised would be a watertight charge sheet in December. Those September raids did more than uncover documents. They rewrote the investigation, transforming a supposed accident into a complex, charged case of fraud, betrayal, and murder. As the wheel of investigation churned, 2 arrests made the people of Assam pause with shock. Zubeen Das' personal security officers, or PSOs, they were part of his security detail provided by the government since 2013 and were present on the yacht in Singapore when he drowned. 2 men who were supposed to protect Zubeen Garg have just become prime suspects, and the trail that leads to them is made of money. More than 1 crore rupees quietly moving through their bank accounts. When the Special Investigation Team, or the SIT in Assam, began following the financial loose ends in this case, they did not start with killers in the shadow. They started with the people who walked beside Zubeen Garg every day, his personal security officers, Nandeshwar Bora and Paresh Besha. Both men were not private bouncers. They were Assam police personnel, officially assigned to Zubeen Garg for years after he received threats from the banned militant group ULFA. They were part of his daily life, on stage wings, at airports, on the road, and crucially, around him in the tense weeks leading up to his final trip to Singapore. The break comes in early October. The SIT announces that 2 of Zubeen's longtime PSOs, Nandeshwar Bora and Paresh Besha, have been taken into custody in connection with his death. Their suspension from duty quickly follows, with senior CID officers publicly confirming that financial irregularities in their bank accounts triggered this dramatic turn. This is the moment the story shifts. The case is no longer only about organizers, managers, or distant NRIs. It has reached the inner security ring, the men paid by the state to shield Zubeen from danger. So what did investigators actually find? Bank analysis over the previous 4 to 5 years reveals that the combined value of transactions linked to accounts controlled by Bora and Besha crosses the 1 crore mark, far beyond what either man could reasonably show as income from an officer's salary. Inside interrogation rooms, both PSOs reportedly struggled to provide a satisfactory explanation for these figures. They claim that large chunks of the money relate to funds Zubeen kept with them for his social work, money he intended to distribute to the poor and needy, especially during and after the pandemic. His wife, Garima, supports part of that picture, saying he often used different people's accounts to channel donations and that the officers even maintained diaries and bank statements of those transactions. But to the SIT, that still leaves a crucial question open. Where does philanthropy end, and where might a covert payment for something darker begin? This is where the financial story collides with the murder hypothesis. By the time the PSOs are arrested, the SIT has already detained event organizer Shamkanu Mahanta, manager Siddharth Sharma, bandmate Shekhar Jyoti Goswami, co-singer Amrit Prabha Mahanta, and Zubeen's cousin, suspended APS officer Sandeepan Garg. Allegations of poisoning are in the air. Shekhar Jyoti has publicly claimed that the manager and the organizer conspired to poison Zubeen and specifically chose a foreign venue like Singapore to get away with it. Picture the logic investigators are working with. If there was a plan to kill a star as protected and surrounded as Zubeen, it could not happen without help from those who controlled his movement and his environment. Bodyguards decide who gets close. They know his routes, his habits, when he is most vulnerable, when he is in the water, or on a boat, or alone in a hotel room. If someone needed assurance that a risky plan would go smoothly, that there would be no last-minute change of venue, no extra people present, or no unexpected security intervention, who better to pay than the men managing his physical safety? For the public, the arrests of Bora and Besha are shocking. They pushed the total number of people arrested in the case to 7, transforming what once looked like a freak accident in Singapore into a suspected multi-layered conspiracy stretching from festival organizers and managers to musicians, relatives in uniform, and now bodyguards. What happened to Zubeen Garg? The investigations will probably uncover one day. But what will remain unhealed are the wounds of Assam and its people. The broken trust, the belief that those who are closest to you will forever watch your back and protect you. That's all we have for you in this episode of Post-Mortem, where we put the spotlight on the crimes that shock yet make us want to know more and more. Goodbye, but do keep watching India Today.